Hey guys, Pastor Tim Thompson with Our Watch, also the senior pastor of 412 Church in Marietta down here, Southern California. And I am the pastor who was arrested just this past week on the Capitol grounds there in Sacramento. And one of the things you don't know about me is that I'm also, for the past decade, I've been a law enforcement chaplain here in the county of Riverside where I live. And I have a tremendous amount of respect for the men and women in blue. And I have a tremendous love for law and order. In fact, the Bible tells me that in the end times that the love of many is going to grow cold because of lawlessness abounding. And so I love law and order. I love the men and women in blue. And I'll tell you this, another thing that you don't know is that the news didn't show you this. For about 7 hours, you had men and women and kids show up at the state grounds, and they were patriotic men and women, freedom-loving Americans, just like you and me. And we were there and we were hanging out right there at the Capitol grounds, having a good time, using our constitutional rights, enjoying freedom. And the men and women from the California Highway Patrol, they were there as well. And they were not in riot gear. They were hanging out with us. They were having a good time. They supported us. They ensured our safety. They ensured our freedoms. They ensured our constitutional rights. And we were having a good time. And we were having great interactions with the CHP. That is, until Gavin Newsom gave an unconstitutional order telling the CHP to gear up in their riot gear and push us off of the Capitol grounds. And I know this, that when they did that, when they geared up in their riot gear and they pushed people off the Capitol grounds, I know a couple of things happened. Number one is we were stripped of our freedom. We were stripped of our rights. And I know that many of the men and women who were there that day working for the CHP, they went home that night feeling extremely bad about that, because they, just like you and me, are citizens of this fine nation, and they, just like you and me, love freedom. I know another thing is that when they geared up, there were men and women on our side of things that were hanging out, having a good time, and then when they were being pushed off the grounds, you know, their tempers kind of flared, and they said some things that when they went home that night, they regret. And so I think there's regrets on both sides of this, and what we realized at the end of the day is there aren't two sides of this when it comes to the CHP and everybody else that was there. We are all on one side. We are all freedom-loving Americans, and we want to continue to have those constitutional rights. We want to continue to exercise those constitutional rights. We want freedom. And so we are all on the same side of this. And what really comes down to is this. You have the Führer of California, Gavin Newsom, who thinks that he can just strip us away of our freedoms and pin us against the fine men and women in blue. And we're not going to let that happen. And so here's what I would like to ask all of you to do. The Freedom Angels have decided to put together another protest. It's going to be this week on Thursday, which just happens to be the National Day of Prayer. They've invited me back out to do a live church service right there during the protest. And we're going to do a church service. We're going to preach the Word of God. We're going to enjoy our freedoms that we have in this nation. And we're going to use this time to not only preach the Word of God, but also celebrate the men and women in blue. So I'm going to ask you to come out this Thursday to the state capitol, join the Freedom Angels. If you have a shirt like this, you got a flag like this, something with the blue line, bring it out in support of the men and women in blue. If you don't have something like this, just wear blue. We're going to support the men and women of law enforcement. And what we're going to do is understand this, that just like they are the thin blue line that separates the lawbreakers from the rest of us, the law-abiding citizens, they're the ones that make sure we are safe living in our communities. Here's what we want them to know. So CHP, if you're listening, we the people, we are that line between the Führer of California and you. It is not fair that he would give you that type of order and put you in that type of position. We fully support you, and we know that you support our freedoms. And so we love you, and we're going to be there this Thursday, and we're going to celebrate you.